Nice to meet you guys. Nice to see all of you here. I must say this is a huge challenge that Paul mentioned that this is the last talk before lunch. So I can guess that expectations are very high. On the other hand, the first talk after lunch is also challenging, I guess. So. All right, so Beata just 5 minutes ago was talking about the game and building trust while using gamification. And I would like to talk a little bit about trust. How trust can help us in software development, and actually, what is that? Trust. It's tough to define that. On the other hand, it's needed for us, and all of us wants to have it. Some people say that trust is higher on the demand than love. So people tend to hear that they are trustful and trustworthy more than they are loved. So that's something that says that trust is really important. But what it is? Who of you was struggling in building trust with each other in the relationships, professionally or in the private life? I see some of people, all of us, exactly. Statistically, 100% of people have the challenge with that. So what that means, what it is. Today we have, I think, 25 minutes to dig into the details. So talking about trust, I would like to start with talking about the environment. On my studies, there was a professor who always said that there are two parts of the world: system and an environment. So we are a system, and the whole world is environment. And there is a term VUCA. Any of you have heard about this term? Yes, I see some people. Exactly. So this term was, I think, used in 1987, if I remember correctly. And this is about describing our world nowadays. After Second World War, actually, nowadays with the war in Ukraine, it's even more actual. So our world is volatile, is uncertain, is complex, and is ambiguous. On the other hand, as we are, engineers and managers and agile leaders, we live in the agile world. And when I was thinking about challenges in the agile world, I see those four. I defined it as a MUCA instead of VUCA, but obviously that's my acronym. So we have market dynamics. IT market is very dynamic in terms of hiring, in terms of getting talents, and also in terms of getting the business. So every day, many startups are popping up, closing down. There's huge dynamic in the environment. We have unknown requirements. You, as an agile community, know it the best. Yes, that you would like to develop something. Clients come to you and say, I would like to do something with you, but actually I don't know exact details. Is that the case for you guys? I can imagine that during backlog definition or backlog refinement, there are many questions that are unknown. We solve complex problems. As engineers, we are here, we have fun solving problems. And obviously, last but not least, the money. Some people, maybe you are the one coming to the team and say, okay, really nice feature, but how much does it cost? Or how much time do you need to develop that? We know that this is challenging, right? Especially when we speak with developers, they say, oh, I don't know, it's between 1 and 30 days, right? And really, it is, right? We have some techniques how to do it, but we can say that it's ambiguous costs of the project. So looking at those two, I see that this agile environment is sort of the answer, or we try to find an answer via agile to exist in this world, in this environment. This is the Agile Manifesto. We all know that by heart, right? So I don't need to tell you anything about that. The only what I would like to tell is that this is all about trust. Because if we talk about interactions between each other, we need to establish trust to interact fully. When we talk about customer collaboration, customer needs to trust us that they will spend the money and they will get the money back, I mean the return on investment. When we respond to change, we actually need to trust ourselves and believe in ourselves that we can respond, that everything is changing around us and we can respond to this change. And obviously at the end of the day, we produce working software, hopefully, of course. So we need trust. So what's that? I'm an engineer, so I was searching for some definitions or some aspects of trust that I can have tangible effect on it. And I found those two parts, cognitive aspect of trust and emotional aspect of trust. Cognitive is transmitted through thinking. So basically everything that we use in a logical way to produce software, it's this cognitive aspect of trust. Emotional aspect is transmitted through feeling. So the feeling we have that we can trust someone and someone else is not trustworthy. So cognitive aspects is all our skills, knowledge, and expertise. It's basically what we are delivering. It's basically about results. If our manager asks us to deliver the project, he or she will mainly look on our results, if we deliver or if we not deliver, if we were able to produce this feature or not. And the other aspect is emotional. So it's more like our character, our ways of living in this planet. So it's about our intentions, if we have clear intentions, if we are open to other people and we can show us as we really are, and if we are honest with them. And I'm talking about emotional because those aspects influence our emotional state, or we can feel it. It's hard to define it, but we can feel it. And it's called integrity. So if we are in the integrity, it means that our actions follow our words, we are open, we are honest, and we are trustworthy. So this is the equation, the magic equation for trust that I use. It's a competence and character. So those two parts. So competence is about cognitive intelligence. And in IT, I mainly don't need to tell anything, I guess, about that. We use our analytical thinking. We have logic rules and the logic way of thinking. In IT, we have our language, either if it's Java or Scala or other technical languages, but we have also our agile language, right? Daily Scrum, Scrum Master. Try to tell your uncle about Scrum Master and what he or she does. By the way, who of you had this question from the family to explain what you do at work? Yeah. And who of you managed to explain that? Oh, there is one brave person over there. I would love to ask you how you did that. But definitely we have our language that we speak on a daily basis. And obviously, last but not least, and nowadays, the first one is data. So this is about the cognitive aspect that we use. There is an emotional aspect that I mentioned, emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is basically recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions. But this is not only our emotions. We need to recognize, understand, and manage emotions of others. It helps a lot while building relationships. It helps a lot while working together, collaborating on some projects. So basically, we need to embrace our emotional part, and if we do that, it will help us to break down our silos in the organization. So let's switch a little bit for this technical part of our job. So here's a DevOps tool ecosystem from last year that I found, and there are a lot of different tools. I guess you may know about some. And our teams, they use those tools on a daily basis. You see that there are various parts that those tools are grouped. And I don't want to say phases, talking about waterfall. I think that right nowadays almost no one talks about waterfall. But I would like to tell you about the domains of building software, domains of testing software, deploying, and so on and so forth. There are specific tools that we or our teams use. But the question is, what it makes to use those tools when we have silos? That's a challenge, but if we have developers who build the software, they use their tools, they develop software, and then they pass it over to testing team or test people, quality assurance people. But they sort of pass it that they at least try to forget. I'm not saying they're forgetting, but try to forget about things sometimes. Obviously in silos organization. And it goes on and goes on. The software can be passed to the operations to deploy and so on. And if there are barriers, if people don't trust each other, operations don't trust developers, that developers can deploy to production, and we will give them the production access, that's the challenge, right? So the trust is the answer how to starting removing those silos. So if people from various domains can start trusting each other, they can say, yes, developers actually, they do a good job in deploying application and even monitoring that in Nagios, for example. Developers can say, yeah, we are developers, but on the other hand, operations guys, they are quite nice and they even can develop, in my language. Wow. And that's how DevOps starts. So this is not about tooling, this is not about roles. Sometimes it is, but it is at the end of the day about removing silos and building trust. And if we have ideal super organization, we can have one group of people working across all domains, working with one mission towards one goal, and everything's beautiful and shiny. And we live happy ever after with this stack, right? So that's how we gain autonomy. That's tricky because removing the barrier, you need to share your responsibilities with others. But if you let some responsibilities or subtasks, if you let them go to other people, you can gain also the autonomy because those people can trust you. And sometimes they can say, oh, you can do it on your own. You don't need to have approval from my product owner. Or you as a product owner, you don't need to clap this button and say, yes, approved, approved, approved in Jira, even if there are 100 items and you don't know what you are approving sometimes. So this is about gaining autonomy. If you gain trust, that you will have the autonomy. Even if in the DevOps evolution model, there are a couple of stages defined in this model, but in the third stage, there is a think about approvals. That ideally, we don't need approvals to go to production. And that's where our autonomy and CI/CD and all the stuff happens. I know that sounds weird, that all the CI/CD hardcore stuff that we are talking about, technical stuff, it's at the end of the day fuzzy trust, but it looks like it is. This lady is a Brené Brown. Any of you have heard about Brené Brown? I see some people, yes, exactly. So Brené is talking about a lot of different things. I definitely encourage you to watch her movies on YouTube or even Netflix. From the trust perspective, she said that trust is not being built in the big sweeping moments, it's built in the tiny moments every day. So we know that there are two pillars of trust, cognitive and emotional, and now we know that this is not like building trust in 1 hour or in 1 week, it's building the trust every single day. So we are here joining a new team, we are happy, enthusiastic, we see our colleagues, we would like to build trust, and our colleagues start observing us, what we tell them, what we do, how we behave, subconsciously, if we are open, if we are honest with them. And it's going on and on with a few little moments. And every day, every hour, finally, hopefully, you can establish trust together and start working, collaborating, and creating new software. So talking about creating software, we have some techniques. For example, like pair programming. And pair programming is challenging from the business perspective because some people can get, I was getting questions from the clients, are you sure that you would like to dedicate 2 people to develop the same feature and to give it to me once those can develop 2 features at the same time? And I said, yes, I was talking about those quality and blah, 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 all the our stuff. And they said, I need to pay 2 times. It's ridiculous. So this type of conversation is going on the business level, but on the technical level, obviously we know that it's a huge benefit per programming. But how to do it if we are fear of being assessed sometimes, and at the end of the day we can feel fear of being rejected. So if I'm a junior developer working with a senior developer, I can be afraid that my knowledge is not enough. And this guy will see that and will tell my manager, and what will happen next? I will be rejected maybe by the team because I'm too junior. And the vice versa. Senior guys are pair programming with the junior one, and he or she can say that, I'm a senior, but actually this junior knows better this application than myself, this language. So a lot of fear is going on and nobody is actually talking about that, yeah? There is a code review as well. And code review is that your code or your colleague's code is put out there via pull request to be reviewed. So the question is if people are assessing the code or they are assessing the author. Any of you saw the long pull request comments going on? Yes. I had 2 guys, they were sitting next to each other, and during, I think 1 week they put like 100 comments to each other, not speaking with themselves. Right? Technically they were speaking via tool, right? I even asked them, why do you do that? And say, it is a tool to communicate, and we communicate. So what the bother? Huh? Yes, so that's challenging. And also, when we embrace this and we talk about that this is becoming easier. Coming back to Brené Brown, she defines something like vulnerability, or not even define it, vulnerability is out there. She talks about vulnerability, and she says that this is the place where the creativity is born, where the change is born. And the answer is simple. This is the place because when we can be a true selves, we are able to be creative, to feel safe, to feel trustful and trustworthy. I was thinking about vulnerability from the IT perspective, and I found this definition that we know from IT, that this is a flaw or weakness in a computer system which could be exploited or volatile. So transferring to human worlds, it is willingness to show emotion or weaknesses to be seen out there. Potentially to be volatile, but that's the trust aspect, that if we can trust each other, we assume that those weaknesses will not be volatile. Obviously, sometimes there are, so that's the challenge. But even if they are, it's better to try it again and trust again and build the trust again in order to unlock this creativity part. So coming back to some agile language and some agile practices like Scrum, vulnerability definitely helps. We feel that sometimes we provide some trainings or we talk with people, but it is difficult to name, hey, embrace your vulnerability, right? Engineers will go like, what you are talking about? But it helps. It helps on the daily stand-ups, because sometimes daily stand-ups, as you know, is becoming just a report meeting. When people are afraid, so they are reporting what they were doing because they are afraid that someone will judge that they were not doing anything. Talking about retrospectives, you all know that. I will be not talking to to you about that. But there are a lot of challenges if the people are not willing to trust each other during those ceremonies. It is also about the metrics. So working previously as a Agile coach, I was always getting this question, okay, give me your metrics, give me your metrics. And some consultants and coaches, they say, yes, give me your metrics and I will tell you whatever you want to listen, you do to hear, right? And this is also about trust, because when we see metrics, like for example, those four are DORA metrics, if there is no trust, people can cheat on the metrics. Very easy. Deployment frequency, just produce smaller features, smaller user stories, and you will have more deployments. Success. Lead time for changes, that's actually from one of my team. We will deploy to production. There is a small flag saying yes or no, if we show it to the client or no. So we'll deploy everything now saying, not showing it to the client, and we'll fix those bugs. Right? Next sprint. This is about not even cheating. This is about trying to find a way to be more trustful, or to not feeling trust and not showing the data. Mean time to recover, the same thing. We can recover and we can deploy it, but on the staging environment. It is fixed, yes, but on the staging environment. Change failure rate, this is the only one I didn't see any tweaks on that, how to do it. If we have failure, we have failure. But I bet you could see the example. So I also would like to hear about that. So all in all, coming back slowly to the end, it's all about relationships, collaboration and building trust and building relationships at the end. There were a lot of talking about relationships before. No one was listening about that, and COVID happened. We survived those 2 years. We are coming back to normal. I'm glad that we are here face to face. But the question is not how to survive, the question is how to thrive. And thriving, especially for those people, are there any people who joined the company during COVID working remotely? Yeah, like 1/3 of us. Exactly, those were 2 years. People switched the jobs even those 2 years, right? It was hard or easy to join the company and build relationships? Easy. Perfect. This guy will teach us how to do it. Perfect. Yeah, it's challenging, you know, when you don't see the people face to face in real time. You just need to see the camera and the monitor. It's difficult for new joiners, definitely. And how to thrive? Again, it's about building software, obviously. If we build software, we would like to having the accomplishment that something is finally working in the production environment. If we build relationship, we finally would like to meet with those guys and mingle and discuss topic outside of work, talking about our hobbies, passions, and so on. And we build trust that we can feel safe and secure and feel good, relaxed in this relationship. So basically, we feel belong. We belong somewhere. And if we belong, we can feel more fulfilled, we can be more happy and have more joy. At the end, I would like to leave you with a quotation from Simon Sinek. He says that a team is not a group working together. A team is a group of people that trust each other. So, thank you very much.